February light novels is too hot, so this time we will be introducing the noteworthy light novels released in February 2024. We will also thoroughly check out the latest trends in light novels, so please watch this video to find the works that you are interested in. This time, we will focus on Kadokawa Sneaker Bunko and HJ Bunko, which will be on sale in early February. We will be also introducing popular works. We will also be releasing a lot of popular series, so be sure to check it out at the end of the video. Let's get started. First is Kadokawa Sneaker Bunko, which will be released on February 1st. From Sneaker Bunko, I'll start by looking at the most notable titles in the series, such as She Wants to Depend on Me, so She Goes Into My Room, Volume 2. On my way home from work, my beautiful single boss asked me to do something for her, Volume 3. Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian, Volume 8. This time, I will pick up these three works and look at each one. Let's move on. First of all, this is the second volume of She Wants to Depend on Me, so She Goes Into My Room. The first volume of this work was released in November of last year, and the sequels are coming out at a good pace. This work has a rather unique reading. It's a so-called college romantic comedy, but the relationship between the hero and the heroine is unique. It's true that the heroines are all characters with one or two habits, such as people who like drinking too much, pachinko players who are addicted to pachinko, and third smokers who smoke cigarettes a lot. I immerse myself in a room of the main character who is close to me, but at one point it's just a romantic relationship. What's interesting is that they don't have a typical relationship at all, but instead have a unique sense of distance between them. The fun of a romantic comedy is still unknown, but it's a series where you can enjoy a sense of closeness that can be described as normal friends. The latest volume seems to be a summer vacation episode, but will there be any progress in the relationship with the heroines? Furthermore, new heroines will appear in the latest volumes and it seems like the slapstick feeling will increase even more. If you want to read a very interesting series, an unusual romantic college comedy, it's worth checking out. On my way home from work, my beautiful single boss asked me to do something for her, Volume 3. The latest volume of a romantic comedy for working adults by Kodansha Nozomi, the master of romantic comedies. This series is also a romantic comedy that shines with its own unique charm. Well, the main character's sales manager at the publishing company he works for, a cool and beautiful boss who is even said to be an empress, suddenly asks for a child, so it all starts quite a bit. Although she doesn't want to have a child, she does want to have a child. But she has a strange relationship with the main character, making it rather a unique romantic comedy. It's filled with the cuteness of Kodansha Nozomi's heroine, who is good at what she does but is bad at love, making this a work that fans of all the heroines would be very satisfied with. Incidentally, the two of them are really into it, and it's quite erotic, so I think it's a pretty edgy content in every Ranobe. There are also romantic comedy elements, so it will be interesting to see how things turn out. In the latest volume, it seems that the relationship between the two of them will start to develop feelings for each other, and there will be a big change in their relationship. If you read it tomorrow, it will be quite the climax. It has a similar atmosphere, so I'm curious as to how the story will be. I'm curious of how it's going to progress. If you want to read a romantic comedy with a serious older heroine, please check out this work. Next, here's the 8th volume of Alya Sometimes Hides Her Feelings in Russian. It has become one of the most popular romantic comedies in the past few years. The latest edition of the huge hit series has been released, and surprisingly, it has been announced that the cumulative total of the series has exceeded over 205.5 million copies. Even though only 3 volumes of the original Ranobe Volume 7 comic version have been released, this cumulative number of copies is quite amazing. I wonder if it will be well received, By the way, the anime production was done by Dogakobo, who was in charge of Oshinoko, and the character design and creative animation director was Yohei Murata, who is well known for Love Live Sunshine series. And she's a pretty serious wife, so this is pretty amazing. It looks like it's going to happen, right? I'm looking forward to see what kind of candy it will turn out to be. This work is riding high on the momentum, but with a disturbing shadow creeping up on the two who are steadily deepening their bond. It looks like it's going to be a bit of an eventful development, so it looks like there will be some progress in the romance part, so I wonder how it will turn out. This is a romantic comedy that will become even more popular in the future, so I'd like to check it out. Sneaker Bunko also has other titles like When I Told My Female Best Friend Who Give Love's Advice that I Got Us Out Volume 2. If you're a fan of the series, please check this out. Next up is the new series Noteworthy Works. Let's take a look at two works that includes All Mankind Is My Enemy, reincarnated as a Kyochara that has nothing to do with the story. These are the two works. Let's take a look at each one of them. First, let's look at All Mankind Is My Enemy. This is a self-published work that has won the 28 Sneaker Awards. I wonder if Sneaker Bunko has started publishing self-works. This time, it has a dark atmosphere and the title is simple. The story is pretty good. This new story also looks pretty interesting. The story begins when a god suddenly appears in the modern world and tells the world that humanity will be destroyed by a demon lord, and 10 people try to defeat the demon lord. The plot revolves around an angel being released into the demon world, but the main character is this demon king. It seems like the situation is quite hopeless, as she ends up being the only one who helps the demon lord, rather than the one who fights against it. However, the one who is considered to be the demon lord is a girl who has been made into the enemy of the world. It was written in the war that it was a fragile existence. At the beginning of the story, it seems that 800 million people have already died in the world due to indiscriminate intruders, and it's said that the cause of this is the Demon King. In other words, all of humanity is suffering from the death of the Demon King. In a situation where the main character is the only one who wants to help her, he goes against humanity, and it turns out to be a very hot development. This is a setting that I like very much, so I don't plan to go ahead with the purchase yet. It's a new work with two elements that are quite irresistible, so if you are interested, do check it out. Next, reincarnated as a Kyochara that has nothing to do with the story. This is a new work that gives off a game world incarnation vibe series. The title and the cover gives a strong impression of a strong figure in the shadows. It's a good feeling to have a middle school sense. In this work, the main character has spent his life going through many laps. It starts with you being reincarnated into an RPG world, but it seems like you're being reincarnated into a character-like existence in a game, so it feels like a balance breaker. The main character loves the game world, so he was supposed to be living quietly as so not to destroy the scenario of the game he loves, but he ends up destroying the scenario without realizing it, and it seems like it will be a story of an unstoppable warrior. There are game scenarios where you save a character and the final boss is given more attention than the main character. I feel like it's going to be a position where you can move a lot. It looks like there's going to be a harem element, so I think it's going to be a fun, scuttle, accelerating fantasy like genre vibes. Some people might get hooked on it. If you want to read a fantasy work in the Game World Reincarnation series, you might to check out this work. That's all for introducing Sneaker Bunko's light novels. Next up is Seirei Bunko's light novel, which will be released on February 1st. Let's check out the new books. First, let's start with the notable titles from the series. The story of an expert exploration hero who has worked his way up from common people, Volume 8. Seirei Gensoki, Spirit Chronicles, Volume 25. This time, we will be looking at these two works. Let's start by looking at the 8th volume of the story of an exploration hero who has worked his way up from common people. This is a dungeon fantasy work set in a world where dungeons have been created in modern times. This is also the 8th volume, so things are going pretty well. This series is growing in popularity, but the TV series will start broadcasting in 2024, and the anime will begin this year. This was quite unexpected. The anime looks like it's going to be a trend, so the timing of the anime broadcast seems pretty good. The first PB has been released as of now. I guess the quality is pretty decent though. The anime is produced by a studio called Gecko, but they don't have a lot of production experience, and when I looked into it, I found out that they were in charge of One Turn Kill Sister. It's a pretty classic dungeon upstart fantasy. It will be interesting to see how they translate that into an anime. Basically, it's more of a battle fantasy than a comedy, so it's likely to be an easy to watch type of work. For anime watchers, check out the original work as well. Isn't it a good idea to try it? Next up is Volume 25 of Seirei Gensoki. This is a different world fantasy series that has become hegemonic Bunko's signature work. The previous volume was released last August, so this is the first new publication in quite a while. Ryo, a young boy who was reincarnated as an individual in another world, faces his own fate. This work is a solid classic otherworld fantasy. As the story stacked up, the worldview is also quite amazing. It's difficult to read a long-running parallel world fantasy series, but once you start reading it, it's quite difficult, so it's fun to read as much as you can. Since the start of this new chapter, the main character has been in a lot of trouble, and the heroines are also in a pinch, but the subtitle of the latest volume is Our Hero. Looks like we're about to see another dramatic development. I really like the classics like this. Personally, I really like the fact that the main character is on the cover all by himself. This kind of design is cool and nice, isn't it? If you are a Seirei Gensoki fan, please read the new book in anticipation of the long-awaited explosive development. Hegemonic Bunko's other series titles include The Classmate Who's Adored by Everyone Smiles Teasingly Only at Me Volume 2. I've connected to another world, but my purpose is War Volume 2. These two titles will also be released. Both are new releases after quite a while. Series fans should not miss out on buying them. Next up are the notable works of the new series. The Grey Rebel Dances with the Black Cat, Volume 1. Alone in a Room with a Defenseless Beautiful Girl in her Pajamas, Volume 1. These are two works. Let's take a look at each one of them. This new work by Nijine Yuiga has a battle fantasy-like atmosphere, but the title is a bit interesting. By the way, it seems to have also won the 3rd H.J. Bunko Newcomers Award. The stage of this work is between humans and demons. The battle has become a coliseum where it's treated as a fake. The main character becomes an apprentice pitcher who fights there, and it seems like it will be a pretty tough development which the main character is forced to kill a girl who is prosecuted as a witch during the promotion exam to become a formal investment. However, the main character seems like it is going to be a story of rebellion, where he decides not to kill her but to obey her orders and protect her at the risk of his life. Well, after all, the protagonist is the one who takes action to save the heroine even in harsh situations. The protagonist suffers from loneliness. Since he has become a young man, it will be interesting to see how his bond with the heroine develops. If you are interested, please check this out. Next, Alone in a Room with a Defenseless Beautiful Girl in Pajamas, Volume 1. This is a new youth romantic comedy, and the illustrations by Tadano Yukiko have been working with various labels recently. I'm looking at it. It gives me the impression that they are writing light novel illustrations in a very powerful way, and the main content of this work is that the main character, who thinks he's too serious and boring, is with the heroine. Looks like it's going to be a lovey-dovey type of romance where you can just chill out and have fun. The heroine seems to have a pretty sloppy personality and is a positive shut-in who hangs out at home. The main character who falls in love with her for some reason is corrupt. It looks like the story is going to fall into a sweet dating life and is going to be a very sweet one-on-one romantic comedy. If you want to enjoy heartwarming stories, this might be a good match for you. If you want to read a relaxing romantic comedy, please check it out. Then let's take a look at the works. This time, you will be picking up one new work titled I'm a Goblin, a Slow Life in Another World with Silly Classmates. This is it. Let's take a look at it right away. This is a new work, and the author is Akatsuki Kakeya. He's a writer who's made his debut with Gaga Bunko's Orega Ikiru Raison de Etere, but he has a lot of edgy works, so I'm curious as to what the content will be this time. The story is about a high school student. The main character, a former professional gamer, is in his high school's gaming club. He became the head of the company and was spending his days with 5 beautiful girls. But for some reason, he was transported to the game world, so it seems like it's going to be a different world fantasy. By the way, the main character seems to be reincarnated into a goblin, so it's a lot of slapstick. It's like a comedy atmosphere. From the packaging, it looks like it's going to be a completely different world comedy, but since it's written by the author, it's a little hard to believe. There's also a possibility that they are planning something, so I wonder what kind of story it will be. No, seriously, there's a possibility of a slow life in another world, but if you are a fan of Akatsuki Sensei, please check out this work. Also, other works in Kodansha Bunko are My Favorite Neat and Clean Idol is Actually My Wife Next Door, Volume 2. Oshi no Seso, Idol ga Jitsu wa Tonari no Namegaki de Ore no Yome will also be released. If you are a fan of the series, please don't miss this one out on buying it. This is an introduction to the popular titles of Kodansha Light Novel Bunko. This time, it was an introduction to the new light novels. Kadokawa Sneaker Bunko seems to be quite hot, especially from Roshidere's new book. Personally, I'm looking forward to see how high the quality of works eligible for the Newcomer Awards from HJ Bunko will be. What do you think of the lineup this time? If there's anything you're interested, please let me know in the comment section. That's all for this video. I'll be back next time to introduce new books. I'll be happy if you click the subscribe button or watch another video to show your support for the channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.